My name is Dawn Drozd, and I am the Vice President of Programs for our League of Women Voters, representing the Grosse Pointes and Harper Woods. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. Most election years, there are some sort of millage proposals on the ballot that require us to give thought to how we want to support our communities. This year is no exception, as we have a millage proposal regarding senior services on the November 5th ballot in all 5 Grosse Pointes and Harper Woods. Tonight, the League of Women Voters of Grosse Pointe is happy to host a panel of experts who will present information regarding this millage proposal and answer questions from the audience. Before I introduce our speakers, I'd like to share that the League of Women Voters is a national organization whose mission is to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League is nonpartisan. It neither endorses nor opposes candidates or political parties. We welcome men and women 16 years and older for membership, and if you're interested in learning more, we encourage you to see one of us in the back of the room this evening or visit our website. Now, I am pleased to introduce our speakers. First, we have Prudence Cole on the end there. Prudence is the owner of Being at Work, an executive coaching firm, and the president emeritus of the Helm at the Bowl Life Center. Throughout her career, she has been committed to the growth and development of leaders to enhance performance and organizational results, including significant work coaching leaders with Henry Ford Health Systems and other healthcare organizations. Prudence is also the co-author of the book, Finding Power, Passion, and Joy Being at Work. Please welcome Prudence Cole. Next, we have Dr. Tom Jankowski. Dr. Jankowski, is Interim Director of the Institute of Gerontology and an adjunct assistant professor of gerontology and political science at Wayne State University. I find that an interesting combination. He works with service providers and governmental units across the state to help them better serve our rapidly growing older population. He recently conducted a statewide needs assessment for the Area Agencies on Aging Association of Michigan and is currently finishing a year-long needs assessment for the Senior Alliance, which covers the southern and western portions of Wayne County. Please welcome Dr. Jankowski. And finally, I'd like to introduce Krista Siddall. Krista is the Executive Director of the Helm at the Bowl Life Center. Highly experienced in the nonprofit world, her expertise is in program development, operations, leadership, public speaking, and training. As the recent Director of Operations and Programming for Kids Health Connections, she was able to improve quality, access, and health outcomes for thousands of children on Medicaid throughout Wayne, Macomb, and Oakland counties. In 2018, Krista received the Spirit of Detroit Award for outstanding leadership accomplishments benefiting the community of Detroit and its residents. Please give a warm welcome to Krista. One last point before we begin the program. As I mentioned earlier, we will be accepting questions from the audience at the end of the presentation. If you're interested in asking a question, there are cards at the ends of many of your tables. If there aren't any, feel free to raise your hand. We'll be happy to give you a card and a pen if you need it for you to write your question. And then once your question is written, just raise your hand again. Our collections ladies will get them, and we will be gathering those to ask at the end. All right? Okay. Without further ado, panel, you may begin.
Thank you. So welcome and thank you for attending to learn more about the ballot proposal for the first ever Senior Services Millage in our community. We are here to help you understand the proposal which will be on the ballot in Harper Woods and the 5 Grosse Pointes regarding a millage in support of senior services, an initiative which ensures that we will be a community which supports all of our citizens, including seniors. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event and for recognizing the importance of this issue. The Grosse Pointe League recently passed an advocacy position to invest in and promote the well-being of our senior citizens. This is what this millage is about, and I quote from the League's position: acknowledge the needs of our aging population, support the health and well-being of the senior citizens, work toward compliance with the Michigan State Plan on Aging and the federal government's Healthy People 2030. And most importantly, enable our residents who wish to age in place to enjoy the gifts of longevity while living healthy and meaningful lives as they age. This is the ballot language which you will be asked to vote on. The language will vary slightly in each community due to property values, but the intent is the same: to ensure that the Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods remain a community which makes it possible to age in place safely and with dignity. Aging in place is what both seniors want and what requires community support. It is important to understand that a millage for seniors is only possible because of a state law. A millage in support of seniors is not an idea. Almost 50 years ago, the Michigan State Legislature passed the Michigan Act 1976, to ensure communities would be able to support their senior population. To date, 72 of the 83 counties in our state have passed a senior millage. This is not a new idea, but new to our community. And in the counties which have not done so, like Wayne County, local municipalities have joined together to pass a senior millage. These existing millages range from 0.25 up to a maximum of 1 mil. So the millage for our community is not at the high end. Some people in opposition have suggested this is a slippery slope, where other needs will come forward to request taxpayer support. Well, anyone can request it, as we are a democracy. Without a state-sanctioned act, such as Act 39, municipalities are limited in the number of villages they can have. The number of communities which have passed the millage for seniors and the length of time this has been in effect, almost 40 years, speaks to the importance of this to our state and our community. It is important to recognize our population is changing. One example of this is the ratio of seniors to children. This slide demonstrates that seniors already outnumber children and that disparity is going to continue to grow. We are not asking people to choose between children and seniors, only to recognize the change we are dealing with. So as you can see from this slide, we are shortly going to be, well, we are already basically at 65 and over, outnumbering 17. Last thing I want to show you is in looking at specifically at our 6 communities, you will see the increase in our senior population. By 2030, 65 and over will reach 22%. This trend will continue through 2050. This is not necessarily negative, just different. And you will hear more about that from Dr. Jankowski on the benefits of a community from their seniors, the benefits to a community. But it does require a different approach in community services. I now would like to turn this over to Dr. Jankowski, who has been studying the realities of the growing senior population, to share some of the important findings regarding aging.
Thank you, Prudence. I just wanted to call your attention to this space here between 2040 and 2050, it looks like we've kind of reached a plateau when it comes to the aging of the population, and then maybe we don't have to worry about it anymore. I wanted to add a note about this because it's not really a plateau. If you untangle what's going on underneath the surface there, which I'm going to do in a second, you'll see that there are still changes going on in the population well after 2040. So this is not something that we're going to deal with now and then in 15 years we don't have to worry. And this is important because service reliance actually varies a bit. We talked about that. I also wanted to mention the changing economics of aging. The sort of first wave of the baby boomers had access to defined benefit pensions and retiree health insurance and a whole bunch of things that the later baby boomers and the Gen Xers do not have access to. And so people are sort of relying on themselves to save money in a 401k to live in retirement. And I think based on what I've seen in terms of saving rates and things, I expect to see poverty among the older adult population increase in the next 20 years because we're just not as well prepared to retire for years. You also see the average age of retirement growing, so people are still staying in the work. This is what I wanted to show you in terms of untangling what's going on in the aging of the population. So if you break it down by age groups within the older adult population, you see that the 65 to 74 age group sort of peaks around 2030, 2035. The 75 to 84 age group peaks around 2040. But that 84 plus age group keeps growing, and it will keep growing indefinitely, at least for the next 30. And why is that important? Well, because as you see, this data comes from my needs assessment of the senior loans, which is really just down the road here in Maine County. We did a survey of service recipients and a survey of everybody in the population age 60 and older. And the blue bar shows the distribution of aging of older adults within the population. The red bar shows the distribution of service recipients, aging service recipients. So you see that the 85-year and older group is only 8.6% of the population, but almost 28% of service recipients. So that's why that idea of a false plateau is so important because the need for services is going to continue to grow, even if it looks like the population, the older adult population is like. Income is very important as well, like I said. I think that older adults are going to have access to the same level of resources in retirement savings too. And you can see by this chart, it's the lower income older adults who need the most aging services. People at the higher end of the scale can often afford to provide these things for themselves. But at the lower end of the scale, it's much more difficult for people to provide for those things, especially if they don't have adult children in the area who can help them. I just wanted to go over this real quickly because, people say, well, senior poverty is not a big problem. In this area, I think it's probably about 8 or 9% of people age 65 and older are living in poverty, according to the official poverty definition, which shows that a single living at $15,000 a year, a couple living at $20,000 a year are living in poverty. But if you look at the real cost of living, which is what the elder index shows, and this breaks down the actual local cost of living for healthcare and food and rent and whole nine yards, including taking into account whether someone's paying a mortgage or whether they're renting. So I'm comparing two groups here. The first group is people without a mortgage and in excellent health. And so basically a couple owns their home, no mortgage, excellent health, the lowest possible cost of living that you could have. A couple still needs $35,000 a year to live. And if they're in poor health and they're still paying a mortgage, then they need over $51,000 a year. That's just to pay the bill. That's not anything extra. Travel, no car repair, no place in the refrigerator when it dies. So these are sort of bare bones levels of income, and so I don't want you to underestimate the number of seniors in the population who struggle, even if they're above. Okay, finally, I just wanted to talk for a second about why a senior village may be a good idea for your community. You know, as we all know, As you get older, it's very common for people to develop mobility limitations that make walking and climbing stairs, and particularly maintaining a home in a yard more difficult as they get older. As people age, they sometimes experience other declines that make driving unsafe, so they have difficulty with transportation at times. Almost 40% of people age 65 or older who live in this area live on Social Security per year. That's their sole source of income. That is a very meager existence. And so people say, well, oh, Grosse Pointe, everybody's rich there, right? They have these big houses. There are an awful lot of seniors in the community who I would describe as house rich and cash poor. They owned their house when they were working and making a good income, they paid the house off. They barely afford to pay property taxes and put food on this thing, but they still live in this nice big house. They also can't afford to maintain the home the way that they used to. And I think that for a community that's primarily a bedroom community, where housing stock is so important, it's a problem if people can't maintain these homes. Many seniors can rely on family for the person. Most have adult children in the area and circle family friends who are active in their churches and they have this. There's a significant number of people, I'd say somewhere on the order of about 10 to 15% of seniors who have nobody to rely on and don't have an adult child that we call when they need. A lot of them don't even have a friend or other family member that we call when they need help. And we're currently facing an epidemic of loneliness and isolation, which causes even worse mental and physical health issues. So I don't want to give the impression that getting older is all negative. I mean, we're all getting older, right? I'm in my 60s now, and there are a lot of benefits to getting older. Older adults are often very committed community members, as you all active in religious congregations and service clubs, voting and volunteering at high rates. I mean, think of all of your local community boards and commissions and things. If everybody over age 60 is taken off those boards, how many folks would be? Plus, let's also remember that about 18% of older still work. The rest may live on fixed incomes. They report those in Social Security and pension benefits are reported into the local economy from outside. So that's a net plus for the local economy. Plus, older adults are less likely to try to save that, to spend their income more. I always make the argument that older adults are the institutional memory of their communities and are often the anchor of their neighborhoods. And that is especially the case in lower income neighborhoods. Sometimes Mrs. Smith on the corner is the one holding down the entire neighborhood. And so they play an important role. Another important role that a lot of older adults play is as caregivers. So we concluded that about 40% of older adults are caregivers of some type, either providing care to a sick or disabled adult, often an adult child or a spouse, or providing regular care to grandchildren as well. So I think older adults bring a lot of benefits to the community. There's a good reason to want to keep them safe and healthy and happy in the community. And frankly, 90% of people want to stay in their homes. Nobody wants to go into certainly a nursing home. And most people would really prefer to stay in their homes. But in order to be able to do so, they need a little bit of help, especially those much older people, 85 and older. Because older adults who don't get the support that they need are at greater risk of falling and injuring themselves. They're at risk of malnutrition, depression, anxiety, elder abuse, financial exploitation, poor reactions from poor medication management, self-neglect, a whole bunch of other ills for older adults who don't get the kind of support that they may need. They also tend to use many community resources, many more ambulance trips, many more trips to the emergency room, more police and fire departments, because they have the stability from that support. Older adults who don't get the support they need may also have trouble maintaining property. To communities like Grosse Pointe, it's important to keep the housing stock in good condition. Everybody wants to keep the property values up. So you don't want your next door neighbor's house falling down because they can't afford to maintain it or because they can't physically maintain it. So it'd be nice to provide some help to those people to help the entire neighborhood. So my last slide is about why I think it's important to have a local senior millage in particular. So most of these types of supportive services I've talked about are provided through the Older Americans. And I can just tell you that some of the Older Americans Act programs, probably the one that everybody's the most familiar with, is Meals on Wheels. But they also do congregate meals, information referral, all kinds of health and wellness programs, transportation, homemaking and chore programs, minor home modifications, $5 for bathrooms, those kinds of things, Medicare counseling, elder abuse prevention. I mean, the list really goes on and on. And the next thing is the way the Older Americans Act is structured. The money comes down from the feds and the state, and then it's determined locally what kind of services need to be provided to best serve the local population. So that's why the services are actually delivered locally. However, the problem is that funding for older living services is just not keeping. It's not growing at the same level as the population. I looked up at the numbers, and from 2014 to 2022, Older Americans Act funding increased 15.6%. But during the same period, the older American population increased 22.2%. So population is growing faster than the funding for the programs. Another issue you have in this area is that Grosse Pointe and Hartlewood are served by Detroit Area Aid and Sanitation. You know the folks over there, they do a wonderful job, very committed to what they do. But frankly, the focus is on Detroit because they have a very large, very poor population that needs a lot of services. And I think that there's a good chance that Grosse Pointe and Upper Woods kind of gets lost in the mix a little bit. So the amount of resources are shrinking. There's a great deal of competition for those resources when you're sort of paired with Detroit and kind of helping to trend. For those reasons, I don't think that the older that program is flowing from the Detroit area agency on aging is going to be sufficient to serve the older adult population at Grosse Pointe. So in the face of that inadequate funding, I think local communities have to step in if they want to preserve the independence and quality of life of their residents.
Thanks, okay. So last 2 points I want to make is that I mentioned the millage rate, but I didn't say what it was. So you've read, if you've got absentee ballots, you know it's 0.35 mils for 6 years. And again, the statute allows up to 1 mil. So what does this mean for individuals? Well, on average, it's $52 per year for the whole. If I took the whole community and divided it out, it would be on average $52 per year, which is like $4 a month, which is like a couple of months. So it's not a huge amount of money. It does vary by community because it's based on your taxable value. The millage is, as I said, for 6 years, and I stress this because some have confused it with the Grosse Pointe School Millage Sinking Fund, which is 3 mils, not 0.3, but 3. There was something on one of the websites that had some confusion. In addition, there is a Wayne County Regional Educational Service Agency Renewal Enhancement Millage for 1.9, also which is almost 2 mils. So for the senior millage, you will need to calculate based on your taxable value what the impact will be for you. And the one last point that's important to know is that first and foremost, tax money collected by a city cannot be turned over to a business or a nonprofit. Second, the intent of this millage is that the multiple cities will work together to ensure that the money is utilized for seniors as the millage language specifies. Cities working together to deliver services is not new. Each city, a part of this millage has agreed to work together under a state-authorized interlocal agreement to define how the money will be managed, much like they work together on the shared library system, to ensure the money is used for the specific intent, the well-being of seniors. The answer is an interlocal agreement which city managers have begun to draft. This will be finalized when the millage passes. Cities will then set up the Older Citizens Commission. Not great, I don't like that, but it is their choice. The OCC will organize and then begin the contracting process with a serving organization. So again, some people have said, well, this is the Helm millage. No, it is not. It is a Senior Services Millage. It just so happens that the language says that the money needs to go to experienced senior services providers. And that service provider to this day is the Helm, which has existed for 45 years. So we feel that the Helm is the organization that can provide that. And so this shows you a little bit about what I just told you about. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Krista, who is going to tell you more about what we envision for the
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear that good without coughing? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, so moving on, I'm going to turn sideways a little bit so I can see what I'm doing here. We're going to start with essential services. We talk a lot at the Helm about essential services. Essential services from the Helm are something that we provide. It's a public health for senior services, and they are critical components of a community's infrastructure. They're designed not only to promote health, but to promote well-being of our senior population. So these are things that we need in the community to be able to provide, just like we provide children's services or family services for our seniors. And we are always focusing at the Helm back to our mission. How do we keep people in their homes? How do we ensure that they have longevity? How do we ensure that they have quality of life by providing health outcomes for them? And why is this important for our seniors? I think Dr. Jankowski, as well as Prudence, did a good job of kind of overviewing that. But I'd like to dig a little bit deeper tonight into kind of what the Helm is doing in case you're not familiar with us. So at the Helm, we offer a very wide variety of services that are essential for well-being for our senior population. This could include a call that we get for resources to help clean out a home or be a provider for someone that's not there. In fact, last year we had a little over 5,000 requests that we responded to for aging-related topics. In addition to that, this could include a safety call for the home. This could be where we need to send someone out, or we have a caseworker working on case coordination, or we have someone lovely showing up at the home and helping with smoke detectors, helping put grab bars in, helping make it a conducive place for someone that might have some issues with being in the home at that time. It could be a long-term relationship with our social worker to help over long periods of time. One gentleman that I know called, he had no family in the area, he was dying of cancer, his daughter was out in California, and our social worker worked with them on end-of-life planning, on all sorts of things to help his daily life go. In addition to that, we work with clients across the board with multiple needs and multiple concerns. The list that you're seeing up here are some of the things that we consider essential services from a public health standpoint. The first one is Meals on Wheels, and it's probably the most recognizable one that you'll see tonight. It's very important, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about Meals on Wheels later. But information and assistance, our Medicare assistance program. Last year with our Medicare assistance, we served about 748 seniors with a direct savings to the drug companies and to Medicare, $300,000. In addition to that, we have medical equipment lending, which is very important, whether it's long-term or short-term. Last year, we lent 1,880 pieces of equipment to the community. In addition to that, our case coordination, our home tour program, and our friendly reassurance program offer reassurance in the community that someone is there to provide the resources that they need, and we are there to listen, we are there to support, and we are there to help. When we move past this, we move into something that's one of my favorite areas, which is health and wellness, education, and enrichment. If you did not know, the Helm last month had 259 programs. I'm going to let that sink in. 259 programs. That in addition to all the essential services I just went through. There is lots going on there, and it's more than just a few things here and there to help seniors. It is all designed to have the outcome of helping our seniors with their health and wellness. We have flu clinics. We have one coming up next Friday. We have healthcare services provided by having a wonderful relationship in our community with 3 healthcare, or 2 now, Henry Ford Ascension, Henry Ford, and Corewell. We're able to work and partner with those health systems to make sure that we offer the best programming available. We have a fitness center. We have health education and programs through Detroit Area Agency on Aging that are evidence-based programs that have specific health outcomes for those that take them. We also have programs with Wayne County Community College, and those programs also keep in mind our health outcomes and keeping our bodies active. So with all of these types of programs, there's a lot of opportunity for people to come to free programming, to come to programming that's less expensive, or to become a member and join and come to optional programming as well. There's a wide variety. So what does that mean? How do we fund our future? How do we fund our present? And why is that important? Oh, okay. Oh, we got it. Fantastic, Prudence. Thank you. So this is a good chart, and I'm glad we have it because I want you to take a peek at this. I get a lot of questions about our budget. Our budget right now, if you look at this, donations makes up 54% and grant makes up 26%. Both donations and grants are completely variable and can change in any given year's budget. That is scary for us because these grants and these donations we can't count on to be able to provide these whole list of services that I was talking about, to pay payroll, to pay benefits, to pay all the supplies, to pay the wonderful qualified people that are answering the phone. So these are variable funding sources and they are not to be counted on. As we move forward, yearly philanthropy is going down, which is also a little bit scary. Since 2020, philanthropy has gone down 2% a year every year. We have depended on for 45 years the generosity of the Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods, and we've been able to provide all of these services. But 72 out of 83 counties currently have a senior services millage to be able to provide these services to their communities in a manner that has a sustainable income stream. And that's where we would like to go. We will continue to fundraise. We will continue to apply for grants. Just applied for one month. But in order to do this programming and in order to grow to meet the demands of this community and provide the programming that you deserve in this community, we need to have a sustainable stream of income. I'm proud to share that 81% of the revenue that comes through the doors at the Helm is spent entirely on programming and direct service. I'm going to say that one again too. 81% of our revenue is spent on the things that I just mentioned, providing programming and direct service to the community. The Helm is proud of that. We're proud of our yearly audit. We're proud of our platinum transparency rating from Candid, and we've been evaluated based on factors including services, financials, and operations. But I want to give you a little peek into just one program and show you how growth is impacting my budget. So let's take a look at Meals on Wheels. At this time, support for seniors comes from a very small bucket for federal and state funds. Only about 6% of our $1.3 million budget comes from federal or state programs. Yes, we get about $14,000 a year from the cities for senior services. Yes, that makes up $84,000. That is an $84,000 bucket in a $1.3 million budget. We are very appreciative of this funding, but it only goes so far. With one critical program, Meals on Wheels, that would not exist without our donations. So if you take a look at this pie chart, in 2023, we had 26% more meals delivered than in 2022. We delivered 26,000 meals that year. This year, I've been figuring the numbers, and we have delivered about 10% more meals than we did last year. So that means within 2 years, we're up 36% in the amount of meals that we've delivered. So you can imagine the cost of that. In 2023, the program currently is costing me about $200,000 a year to run. That is meals, that is deliveries. We have an excellent volunteer base that does a wonderful job of checking in with everyone, making sure that they have resources and delivering those meals. So we're very thankful. But just to give you an idea, when you look at this chart, the Helm meals, we provide 56. Detroit Area Agency on Aging provides 51. So yesterday, we had 107 residents receive meals. DAAA provided half. They pay for those meals, but they don't pay for the building. They don't pay for the people. They don't pay for anything else to happen. They just pay for those meals. We pay for the rest of these meals because we believe that it's important to feed our community. We believe if someone calls and they have surgery, that they qualify. We believe if they have a short-term need, they qualify. We believe if they have a long-term need, that they qualify. So we pick up those extra meals. They are never on a wait list for DAAA. So with that, That leaves a pretty big chunk for us to care for. This week also, just to give you some realistic numbers, 107 delivered, the 5 new clients yesterday. It's still growing. So we often have the conversation about, wow, I can't believe how much this is growing constantly. The need is great, and the best part of it is the stories that we hear from people about the impact. It is vital to our staff at the Helm, to our board of directors, and to our advisory council that these stories of impact and these outcomes continue with the work that we're doing. So what will the millage pay for? I have 2 additional slides to get into the nitty-gritty of this. The millage provides us a stable source of funding, and we've asked for the millage to provide for much of our essential services. So depending on how that contract is written will definitely affect this, but we have asked for services like the ones that I explained to you, the essential services for the community. In addition to that, we find that we would like to expand our programs to meet this demographic shift. This next year, 2025, is when we see that silver tsunami come in. We see more people over the age of 60 than the younger people, and with that, we want to be able to provide our additional services. Thank you. All right, so the first one is adult daycare program. The adult program is something that will not only help our community, but it will help our caregivers. Many caregivers are trying to work and take care of elderly parents or aunts or uncles or children, and that is very, very hard on them. The adult day program is something that we feel is needed in the community and will be more needed as we grow older and we see that shift. So that is one. Number 2 is expanded offerings. We want to have more evidence-based programming, but it's expensive. We just got a license for one of our dementia programs, and it's $7,500 for one license. And we have 3 people doing the program, to give you an idea. So expanded offerings, and we want to have more home visitation. Right now, we're partnering with Wayne State University, and we're doing a CDC risk assessment, falls assessment in the homes for people, where we actually look at how likely are they to fall? What can we reduce that risk? How can we reduce that risk in their house so that they don't fall, so we don't cause more ambulance runs and more hospital visits and all these things. So we're constantly looking at innovative ways to help the community with those challenges. Number 3 is new locations. We want to be able to provide programming in the communities we serve and meet people where they are at. Right now, we're over in Harper Woods. We've had a wait list for some of those programs, and they've been welcoming us with open arms. We've also done some partnering with the War Memorial, and we've done partnering with the Family Center. We will continue to do partnerships. Partnerships is something I firmly believe in, and I think it helps the whole community, and that is our goal as a whole. So in conclusion, I want to just thank you for helping us provide these critical services for 45 years. We couldn't have done it without you. My honest hope, though, is that you'll leave tonight with more information that you have, and that you have the correct information about the Helm, about who we are, and about who we serve. More importantly, why we serve. We are very appreciative to this community, and whether you vote yes or you vote no, I know you have the correct information and you can make an informed choice. So I sincerely thank you.
Very good, very, very good. All right, we'd like to take questions from the audience, but again, they need to be written on those cards. So if my volunteers, if you have a question, if you could raise that up. I have a couple written down that I will start with here while we're collecting those. And so why don't we get started with that? And I'm going to let you guys decide who wants to answer the question. One of the questions that we had was, what happens if the millage is only approved by some cities, but not all of them, since there are a number of cities involved?
So this was discussed with the city managers, and what will happen, they've already in the draft of the interlocal agreement, it says that basically a city that does not pass the millage, if any of their citizens want to come to the Helm, they will have to pay membership fee equal to what the other communities are paying. And I haven't, that's not been decided yet, they can still work that out. But, they have already taken that into account with potential that it might not pass.
Got ya. That, because the follow-up question is, you know, are the people who live in those communities, they're just gonna get free pass if it, you know, if like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 pass it or something, do the other people just, lucky us, I know we didn't vote for it, but we get to go anyway. And obviously the answer is no.
No.
There will be a cost to participating. So it is important that your community vote yes on this if you
Right. I
want
can just
it.
give you a quick example. In Rochester Hills, Rochester Township, and Auburn Hills, I think the three that have a senior center, it's an amazing senior center. For communities that are nearby that are outside and don't pay the millage, their membership fee is, I think, $240. Something in that range for go to use the center plus paying for classes. Our current membership fee is $7.
And if the millage passes, will we still need to pay for membership at the Helm?
We haven't finalized that, but my position is no. If it passes in your community, there will be no membership.
Okay.
That's my position. We've had some discussions, but I think we're almost there.
Okay.
Because we you know, that it does.
It's all right.
Right here, should I ask one of these ones?
Oh, good.
These two are very similar.
Okay. Okay.
I can start.
Okay. How will individuals from each city be chosen to sit on the board? So that was going to be one of our questions, was how are the members of the Older Citizens Commission going to be selected, and how, yeah, that's the question.
So it's not, again, because the interlocal agreement is not finalized, that's not finalized, but the suggestion has been that it'll be done like it's done for our library. So if you know the library board, how that functions, if you live in, Grosse Pointe Farms and it's time for a person to be appointed from Grosse Pointe Farms, you volunteer. You submit your request to your city that you'd like to be representative, and usually the city councils will bring, either in their actual session or in a pre-session, will bring the individuals who have applied forward. I have been a member of, for my city, the library board, and I had to submit an application, and then I had to present myself to the council, and then there were two candidates, and the council voted and selected me to be the representative to the library. So then I was the representative for, I think it was 4 years. I lost track of time. Anyway, so the expectation is to be very similar to that. So you can volunteer, and then they will select who will represent you.
Okay, thank you. Can this money be used for infrastructure or salaries?
We haven't really discussed that. Infrastructure, salaries, we will be covering some of the essential services. So yes, the people that provide those, we don't make anything there. We're all direct service and services, so those are all service providers. So yes, we'll be paying some of that with the essential services, but infrastructure, I would say no. There's been some questions about, are you leaving your building? No, we're staying in that building. It's wonderful. And we're not leaving. But we will be looking for a place to partner with the healthcare system to offer the adult day program. So that would probably be the only infrastructure change that we would see. And that we're talking about possibly renting. Yeah.
Just in case, some people had a chance to see the draft of the interlocal agreement, and truly it is a draft. There's a language in there that talks about buying a facility, but there's no intent to do that. It's been suggested, right? I don't know if it'll be in the final interlocal agreement, but it's just to provide flexibility down the road if something were to happen. Our lease at our building is with Henry Health Systems, and it's good for another 20 years, something. And so it's nothing on the horizon for us, but when they write an interlocal agreement, they try to put some flexibility in it, but there's nothing we can plan that. I don't think the commission plans to do anything.
Thank you. Can a city do a tax capture for city use? There's a follow. I've heard that one of the points does this with the zoo tax, and Detroit does this with their library tax. Are any of you familiar with that? Can you answer that? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I read about that in the paper, so when I was working on this, I got very panicky, and, the capture is you have to have a downtown development board. Yes, it's $50, and I was told there isn't any Grosse Pointe City or Harper Woods that has a downtown development. Who does? So that, I was told by a couple of city managers I talked about, say, no, this is not going to happen. Don't worry about it. That's not what is planned. But again, I don't know what a city is liable to do. I have talked to people within Grosse Pointe Park, in the council, in particular, their budgets, and that's not anything to do with that.
Okay. This question asks, why does it cost $200,000 to run a program that serves 56 meals? I believe that the number is not 56, but I'll let you clarify.
Thank you. We served 26,000 meals last year, and actually on Wednesday, we had 631 meals go out the door because we were providing extra meals for when people didn't have a meal delivered. They were packed for 5, and so that number's elevated, of course, but it was also for multiple days. This year, there's a 10% growth in that, so we're approaching 30,000 meals, and it's hundreds of people. It's usually 110 people a week, and that number shifts depending on who comes on, who comes off, short-term, long-term, etc. So it's a big program, and like I said, if we were just counting on DAAA, it'd be half the size, and we wouldn't be taking anyone because they would be on the wait list. But we don't do that. We make sure that everybody receives meals that week. So we try to keep the cost down as much as possible. We're blessed with volunteers. Our volunteers last year alone, just to give you a number there, we had 350 active volunteers, 10,255 hours, and a savings to the community of $326,000. So, like I said, we're blessed, and we also have a lot of community groups that send us little napkin things and treats during the holidays and all sorts of things that we include with the Meals on Wheels as well. And so we're very lucky. I think the cost is down for what we actually do with that.
Krista mentioned, she alluded to this, but I think it's specific to know, when you're delivering that many meals, you need that many volunteers. So it isn't just something you put out on Facebook and hope people show up. We have a volunteer board. She has 400 people on her. That's not covered. Anything BAAA doesn't cover that overhead costs, but we have to coordinate those volunteers. You have to know that they're going to be there and they're going to deliver, and if they don't show up. In addition, there is a coordinator for Meals on Wheels who has to order, has to talk to the people on the phone, has to make sure they're qualified. It is a very labor-intensive process. So I know it sounds like, well, we just got a meal, but there's a lot to it, and if you came to see, and if you saw the importance of it to the people that receive the meals, not just the meal, but the visit. And Tom, you alluded to that BAAA doesn't cover any of the overhead. Plus, we've got staff there that keep the building open and stuff like that. So all of that has to be factored in. It's like the cost. Krista just said they check on each volunteer. The delivery's been made. So, it's like running a business. You have direct costs and you have indirect costs. Direct costs are somewhat of what BAAA covers, but we have a lot of indirect costs we have to cover.
and everything.
If the millage passes in all six cities, I keep saying five, six cities, have you calculated how much the millage would raise in total?
Absolutely, right? It would raise $1.3 million in the first year.
Okay, thank you. What is evidence-based programming?
Evidence-based programming is programming that has specific outcomes. So it's been developed and designed by research, and it has research behind it. We had a really good example. We had a gentleman come in, and he wanted to pass his captain's license for the Coast Guard, and he needed to be able to stand on one foot for over 10 seconds. And he was 80 years, and he was having a hard time with it. And he went to the Matter of Balance class, which is an evidence-based program. And the class worked with him, and the instructor worked with him. And I'll be darned if he didn't pass it, and he said he could stand on his leg, one leg, for longer than 10 seconds after about 6 months. This works because of pre and post data. So you collect data at the pre, you collect data at the post, and there's a healthy outcome that comes from this program. So it's an evidence-based program. We have another program. We have Jerry Fit, we have a Matter of Balance, we have Enhanced Fitness. We have a really new one I'm excited about. It's a great evidence-based program called SHARE. It's for people with newly diagnosed dementia and Alzheimer's. They are working with the teacher, and they work on plans for how to go to address the healthcare needs of this person, and everything from 6 different visits with the family about what they can expect and how they can react to it together, and what does the person want to see, and what does their caregiver want to see, and how do we get through this process, because it is a process. And it's a wonderful program, and it is a new one that we've implemented. And our programming staff, kudos to them, because they do a phenomenal job with all the programs, evidence-based programs and additional programs. And I just want to mention too with that, even if it's not an evidence-based program, it is a program that we're offering, the socialization component has been shown that has a bigger impact on someone's health outcomes. Having someone to count on, having somewhere to go, having that socialization affects your health more than quitting smoking and quitting drinking. So I always get the question, well, like, can I drink and smoke and socialize? And I'm like, But so it's very important that we keep all these programs evidence-based and all the socialization programs up for our seniors as we grow.
Thank you. What is the impact on community transportation if the millage does not pass?
That one's not a fun one because last year Pat provided about 16,660 some odd rides. Transportation is a social determinant of health. And some of you with public health background, social determinants of health are the things that we need as a community to provide these healthy outcomes. Housing, food, healthcare, transportation. Transportation is key. We don't have enough rides at the Helm right now. We don't have enough rides for many of the people calling. We have to turn them away. It was cut back by a bus and cut back by a couple drivers. The reason for that is that the PATS program has been a wonderful program in the community, but they have seen a 33% increase in the last year. 33%. So let me couple that increase, like at the Helm, couple that increase with increased insurance costs, increased labor costs, increased gas costs, and increased costs for maintaining your buses. And you've got a perfect storm of a bad budget. So if this passes, they will be able to add the buses and add additional route and add additional people back. If not, they're going to have to be doing some serious cutting back.
Okay.
And PATS, just by the way, is its own separate 501c3, just like the Helm is. It is housed in the Helm. They have their own board, but we have agreed that for us as well as for them, this is an essential service, and it is a social determinant of health. So we want to be supportive for that as well.
That's actually a great segue to the next question. Is the Helm the only recipient of the millage funds? Are there not other service providers who qualify for these public funds if it passes?
So I can speak, and then maybe Prudence would like to speak about the law, but we are the senior service provider in the Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods. We are the recipient of the Detroit Area Agency on Aging funding, and we provide those services. So we are the senior service provider. CATS is the service provider for transportation in the Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods. So yes to that. Not everybody can apply for this. I know there was some information about any type of nonprofit. Because of this law, Michigan Act 39, 1976, we are entitled as senior services to ask for up to $1 million to provide this for the community. So it's very specific. And then we started about a year and a half, 2 years ago, even going to city councils and talking to them about the need for this and how they would be able to fund this. And would a millage be appropriate, or the city's able to fund it? And the millage is what we decide for that.
Okay, thank you.
There is one other thing. The language of the ballot proposal is very specific. It says, for the purpose of supporting services to older citizens, including transportation, activities, and facilities directed toward improvement of the overall health and welfare of the older person regarding age. And the language was written by the city managers specifically because what they didn't all want, I mean, I'll just say, they didn't want a whole bunch of requests for, well, we want to do curb cuts, so we need money because that helps seniors cross the street. Long story. But anyway, I've told people that have called me or that challenged me and said, well, we pick up pets from seniors and we take them when they can't take care of them anymore. Can we get money? And I said, well, you can petition the commission. I can't stop you from doing that. But whether the commission determines whether that's qualified or not is up to the commission. Yeah. Helm is just a contractor to the commission to deliver the services. So if that makes sense. So, I mean, War Memorial has classes for seniors. The Ford House has classes, they say, for neighborhood club. They can come forward and ask, but the key is you need to be providing health and welfare services to seniors, and so it's going to be up to the commission to decide. So if you're concerned about that, you need to volunteer to be on that commission for your city, assuming your city passes.
Thank you. If the millage is approved, will grants be negatively impacted?
That's a great question, but the answer is absolutely no. In fact, I applied for a grant, and the reason that we didn't get the grant was because we didn't have a sustainable stream of income. And that was a major factor in us not getting the grant. So that was when we started having, all these conversations were going on, and I said, hey, we can get more grants if we have some sustainable stream of income to make sure that these programs do not stop, and that we're able to carry them on, and we're able to be innovative, and we're able to implement them and develop them down long term, which is important to grant funders. They don't want to just fund something and have it be a flash in the pan. They want to fund it and know that it can go.
Sorry, I'm reading my cards here. What percentage of the funds received will go to the services provided versus administrative and salary? For instance, is it going to stay at about 80% of the budget will continue to be direct services? So what I think the concern is, your salaries don't suddenly double if the millage passes.
No, that's not going to happen. I wish, but I'm kidding. That was a joke. No, the board really oversees all of that, as well as we try, we've been around 45 years. I have a wonderful CFO we are very tight with things. We do not spend extra. We watch our budget very carefully. 81% or more will still be going to our programs and our services. What this will allow is a little flexibility in what we're offering, and it will allow us to grow as we need to grow to serve these additional seniors that are coming. So Yes, we'll still be applying for grants. Yes, we'll still be doing fundraising. Yes, business as usual at the Helm will continue. It just changes our stream of information.
And no raises.
I'm not saying no raises ever. The general raise that's fair market value for our employees will still be taking place. Generally, it's 3 to 5%.
Does the Helm partner or collaborate with local universities for direct senior mental health services or physical health, i.e. internships by graduate students, undergraduate students, that sort of thing?
Absolutely, and that's exciting. I love that stuff. So we have a great girl, Bree, right now, who's a mental health intern from Wayne State University. She's wonderful. We also are partnering with Wayne State University on the CDC risk assessment, where we go into people's homes. We gave them the names of 50 of our clients to start with. We're also partnering with Detroit Area Agency on Aging, where we're asking 3 people from each community to step forward and talk about the social determinants of health in their own communities so that we can base some of our long-term planning on that. In addition to that, I just got information about the U of M study that we've been asked to participate in, some research with U of M. And in my background, I have a lot of partnerships throughout the universities, and I think those partnerships are very valuable to the work we're doing. We will continue to seek those, and we will continue to utilize those as we grow. If we have more staff, we'll be able to do even more of those, hopefully. Right now, we're kind of at capacity with the millage and the gala and everything going on in our.
Awesome. I'm going to ask 2 more questions and we're going to be done. The first one is, are the commissioners going to be paid?
No,
That's what I thought. I thought I heard you say they were volunteers. Okay.
correct. I wasn't paid, well, you did get a stipend on the library board, actually. I got $30 a meeting. But no, there's no plans.
Okay. Last question. If any senior service organization can get funding, how do we make sure the organization's headquartered in those, with those things, that all the money is going to serve only the residents that are covered by the millages, and they don't start to expand?
That's gonna be the commission that's gonna watch that very carefully. They're gonna have very strict guidance as to what they can do with the money and how to do it. I mean, the city managers are adamant that it's, and I've seen the draft of the interlocal agreement, it's very tight, although it needs.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Yes. On behalf of the league, I want to thank our esteemed panel for their participation this evening. They did an outstanding job, and I hope you got the information you need to make an informed choice this election. I also want to give a special thanks to the university for letting us use this space at no charge. We are always very grateful to them. To tonight's league volunteers that were here, and finally, again, to you, our audience, for choosing to be informed voters. We really appreciate that. I hope that you all have a great night and a safe trip home. Thanks again.